And welcome everyone to another episode of One by One and this special series connecting the dots with Riane Eisler and her special guests, recorded live at Hubcast Campus Studios in Vancouver. My name is Michael Kraus. And as the host, I'm truly honored to support Riane Eisler and her many initiatives on partnership culture and consciousness, inviting us into this discussion that celebrates her legacies as global change maker, especially in the context of so many upcoming activities that involve Riane and the evolutionary leaders community. Riane Eisler, scholar, systems scientist, and best-selling author of The Chalice and the Blade, The Real Wealth of Nations, and Nurturing Our Humanity. Riane has reshaped our understanding of history, economics, and power, introducing a transformational framework, the partnership system versus the domination system. Her work has been translated into over 30 languages, featured in classrooms and global forums alike, and has inspired movements. So, welcome to the program, Riane Eisler. I'm so honored to see you, and again, be in the beauty and of your wisdom and the beauty of your presence. And I'm curious to learn if you could share with our audience the intention and visions of your upcoming Peace Begins at Home Summit in October, as well as your connection to our special guest today, Duane Elgin.
Well, thank you so much, my dear friend, Michael. And I am delighted to be with you. And first of all, to introduce Duane Elgin. Duane and I go way back. He actually was a friend of my late husband, David Loy, my wonderful partner for 45 years. And he was interested at that time in the paranormal. And so was David in his work on futures forecasting. He was one of the few, quote, scientists, because Dave was a social scientist, who recognized the paranormal, what we call the paranormal, the capacity that we have that really we have lost in part because of what I call the domination culture. And of course, Duane has been working on this for decades, in all of his books, where he really shows that, the obvious, that we are part of nature, that we must change our culture from domination to partnership. And we have so much in common, the recognition of the importance of story. Because as I really want to emphasize, so many of the stories that we are told are simply not true, but serve very effectively to maintain domination systems, whether it's man over man, man over woman, race over race, religion over religion, etc., etc. Just think of the story blaming woman, Eve, right? The first woman, or Pandora, for all of humanity's ills. That's a crazy story. And of course, it's not true, but it sure has been effective in maintaining the domination, the gender domination, which is such a central part of domination systems, as we can see in the regression today that we're seeing worldwide, and its emphasis on gender. Think about that. But on rigid gender stereotypes with nothing in between, and yes, on ranking, on domination. But So, but Duane shared that we have to take into account, shares with me. Duane and I share the understanding that the change in stories has to really be multifaceted. And that the change in institutions can no longer leave out young people, children, family, yes, and women. And of course, he also shares my understanding and focus on what I call the four cornerstones of childhood and family, which, if you notice, is left out or marginalized in our conventional social categories like right, left, religious, secular, Eastern, Western, etc., capitalist, socialist, right? And gender. Yeah, gender is not just a women's issue, it is a central family, economic, and social issue. So, the summit that we're having combines all four of these cornerstones, and it's called Peace Begins at Home. And please register for it if you haven't yet. The website, which you'll love, is Peace Begins at Home Summit. And remember the summit. So Peace Begins at Home Summit.org. And we have speakers from all over the globe, all connecting the dots between what happens to children and their brains, and hence how they see the worldview, their culture, and whether it orients to partnership or domination or not. And yes, trauma, which makes people very punitive and very much wedded to denial, because denial starts at home when our caregivers, we cannot admit that the people on whom we depend as children for food, for shelter, for life are causing us pain. So we go, of course, into denial, which we're capable of. But when that denial and the trauma really makes us complicit in domination, that's when our problems really get amplified. And so this summit shows the connection between war and other forms of social violence like terrorism, like crime, and what happens in our homes, in our families. So please join us and help us move our culture from domination to partnership, which at this point in our technological development is a matter of survival for all of us.
Peace Begins at Home Summit.org. Peace Begins at Home Summit.org. And just for anybody to register, the event is happening in October. And it's always good to pre-register now and then get reminded rather than waiting and forgetting about it. And what I really, really deeply appreciate about the summit is that it offers practical, implementable solution for partnership culture, specifically within the families. And I just want to say thank you, and I'm deeply grateful for your initiatives and for hosting the summit in October, but also for inviting our special guest today, Duane Elgin. Many, many blessings to you, Riane, and thank you for who you are and the light that you shine into the world. And have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we come together with a new vision for humanity, to co-create a united Earth family. And with this vision and our shared intuition, we have the potential to bring peace on Earth to fruition. We imagine a world where we take care of all of life, and with this intention we become beacons of light. So let's join together in manifestation to bring about societal transformation. From the heart of humanity, we come together in unity to co-create a united Earth family. From the heart of humanity, we come together in unity to co-create a united Earth family. From the heart of humanity, we come together in unity to co-create. Let's come together.
And now let me welcome Duane Elgin, an extraordinary visionary, global activist and change maker to the program. Duane is an internationally recognized author, speaker, and social visionary who looks beneath the surface turbulence of our times to explore the deeper trends that are transforming our world. He has an MBA in business and MA in economic history. His books include Choosing Earth, Awakening Earth, Voluntary Simplicity, and The Living Universe. He has worked as a senior social scientist on the staff of the Presidential Commission on the American Future and a senior social scientist at the think tank SRI International, co-authoring numerous studies of the long-range future for clients such as the President's Science Advisor, the National Science Foundation, and others. Duane has also co-founded 3 non-profit organizations working for media accountability and electronic town meetings. He received the Peace Prize of Japan, the Goy Award, in recognition of his contribution to a global vision, consciousness, and lifestyle that fosters a more sustainable and spiritual culture. Duane is the co-director of the Choosing Earth project. And Duane, I am so honored to have you with us here today. What an incredible dedication towards citizen voice activism, whole system change, and your many accomplishments. And I'm truly grateful to be sharing this time with you. And first, I would like for you to share with our audience about your journey, and in particular, what was that pivotal moment or insight that you had when you decided to dedicate your life to changing the story, and especially within the people and the planet conversation?
Thank you, Michael. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and Riane. You sent that question to me earlier, and I've really been thinking about this. What was the pivot in my life that took me on this deeper journey? And so I've decided I want to share something that I have hardly ever shared in my life with a larger audience. And that is 50 years ago, I was doing work with Joseph Campbell, writing a book, co-authoring a book called Changing Images of Man. Who are we? What is the image that we hold of ourselves? And we were thinking deeply about that. And one question that Campbell was asked, he said, isn't what people are seeking is more meaning in life? More meaning in life. And to everyone's surprise, he said no. He said no. He said what people are looking for is the direct experience of being alive. We want the direct experience of being alive. That's what we're looking for. Now, it turned out at that very same time, I had been invited into an absolutely unique program at the Stanford Research Institute. The very first studies that were being done by the US government in parapsychology, looking at psychic functioning, intuitive functioning, I don't care what we call it, but they were saying, let's discover beyond words, beyond language, what is the intuitive capacities of the human family, the human being. And this connects me with that, what Campbell said. What is the direct experience of being alive? And so for 3 years, I would spend part of my time at the Futures Group, looking at the future with people like Joseph Campbell, and then go over to the engineering labs, where they had set up some of the most sophisticated experiments on the planet at the time to explore the ecology of consciousness. And that took me beyond thought, beyond words, beyond language, into the direct experience of being alive. So what I want to share is one or two of those experiments and what that catalyzed for me. So one of the experiments was with what was called a magnetometer, which is a very sensitive instrument, impervious really to external perturbations, but very, very sensitive. And essentially, it was just an aluminum tube about 3 feet high filled with liquid nitrogen. And inside that tube of liquid nitrogen, there was a little pencil-sized device that had a very weak electrical field. And what they had was a way of measuring any movement or perturbations of the electrical field, and it would take a massive perturbation, as, for example, a huge object like a submarine that they used to look for submarines, to get any kind of interaction. So they said, okay, we've run this for weeks. We know exactly how this behaves. We've jumped on the floor, we pounded on the walls, we've had cars drive by the window where the experiment was taking place, and so on. We know how it behaves. What we want you to do is to come in and see if with your intuitive capacities you could make it move. Now, actually, this gets into Riane's primary understanding, domination or partnership. Domination or partnership. Well, I came into the laboratory and I said, I have to dominate this, right? I mean, I'm a guy. That's the usual approach a guy would take. I'm on one side of the room, it's on the other side of the room. There's no connection there except my intuition, my consciousness. And so for half a year, day after day after day, I attempted to get a little squiggly line, I'm going to show you in a minute, on the chart. And it would show any movement at all. And for weeks, nothing would happen. For half a year, nothing would happen. And finally, I said, you know, this is not working. Domination is not working. So I was doing a lot of meditation at the time, and I decided, well, I'll just sit with this apparatus and I'll be present with it. I will not try to dominate it. I'll try to be with it. And so I sat with it for, a half hour or so, then an hour. And finally, I had to go to a meeting. And I took all of the energy that had been swirling around in the room, and I coalesced it into a single ball of energy. And all of a sudden, it started not only to move visibly, first time I'd ever seen that happen, or the experimenters as well, but it started to make the apparatus inside shake. And it created a signal that went off scale, off scale, off scale, off scale. So then, coming back then to this particular experiment with the magnetometer, that made me think, well, look, instead of trying to dominate this system, how about just being present with it? Being present with it and feeling it and moving with it, and we would move together. And so what I want to show you is what emerged from that. And I won't take too much time, but it is a visible demonstration of something profoundly important. And you asked, what was the catalyst, the pivot that brought me into another way of looking at reality, and then my sense of identity, and then the journey that we're on. So first of all, let's see if you can see this. You see that
Yeah.
line moving across? Okay, that's what it would print something like that out for hours, for days at a time. That was the baseline, and it just would not move. And what they were looking for was something just slight, just tiny, tiny, tiny. Any kind of little glitch was considered significant. All of what I had to do was get the tiniest little wiggle, and they would say, there's evidence of interaction. So on this time, this experiment, the experiment went on, and after a while, putting all the energy we possibly could into the system, here's what happened. Let's see, I'm gonna have to back up here.
Yeah,
What
I can.
happened
Whoa.
was that, and it wasn't a little tiny squiggle on the line. It went radically, completely off scale, so much so that an experimenter later came into the room and said, "You broke my instrument. You ruined it. You broke it." And this was absolutely, completely, radically unprecedented. Okay. What happened there? What happened? By the way, he came back into the room, turned his strip chart recorder on to see how badly broken it was. It ran out a straight line. It wasn't broken at all. I'd left the room. And it just continued on. So experiments like this, and I'm not at all unique. I'm just a regular old farm kid from Idaho. There's nothing special about me. I just had a special opportunity to spend day after day after day exploring the ecology of consciousness. And here's what I learned. This goes back to Riane. Domination does not work. Dancing does. Dancing does. If I was willing to be present with that and feel into it and be a part of its aliveness and have it be a part of my aliveness, and if the two of us would collaborate, cooperate, be present together in that mutual presencing, the energy that I could coalesce, bring together would have dramatic connections, dramatic implications. Now, that means, very directly, this is science, this is hard science. It means very directly that if we could move out of a dominating mindset, and we're looking for little changes, we move into more of a compassionate, relational mindset of presencing ourselves with the world, and not only with the human world, but with all life, with the well-being of all life. That presencing, if we're willing to dance with that, move with that, it will change. It will. You saw the evidence there, and that was not the only experiment. I could go on about other experiments, but the understanding that domination doesn't work, but dancing and presencing and moving with does. Now, so then we changed the story. The story then doesn't begin with me, it begins with reality. What is the nature of reality? Is it a non-living universe, or is it alive somehow? About half the people in the US and about 2/3 of the people on the planet say, well, it's alive. And that is the original wisdom that we had as a species, with that we live in a living universe. And the indigenous wisdom, the original wisdom, is how to be in relationship with that aliveness in a way that has integrity, that has respect, and that brings respect and integrity back into our own lives. So we begin then with reality. And what I understood is that the universe is not dead matter and empty space. It is a living system. The universe is alive. It's a living system. And it's measurably alive if we will let go of domination, relax into our presencing, and be in relationship with it. And in that place of mutuality, its aliveness begins to show up. It demonstrates itself. We feel it within, and we can express it without. Now, so then we have a progression here. Well, reality is alive, not dead. My identity is a part of a living universe. I'm a part of that. I'm an integral, intimate part of that. Well, then what's the journey that we're on? The journey is not one of domination, it's learning to live in a living universe. The journey is to learn to live in a living universe. And in learning to live in the living universe, I'm learning about myself. And so the journey changes radically. If it's a journey beginning in materialism and domination, what we want to do is say, well, I am my thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I better think differently. And so we now have a society of thinking. Well, you are what you think can be changed, and so on and so on. And it's really a mindset that takes us into our bodily being and say, you are your body. Now, what if we are what we say we are, human beings? We're not just human bodies, we are human beings. And that being reaches beyond the physical body, and it reaches into the universe, which is alive itself, and we're alive as a part of that aliveness. Then that changes the whole equation, the whole journey. How it changes how I look at myself. I'm not just a body. When I die, the body goes, but the being lives. That's one of the core foundations, insights of the world's spiritual traditions. And as I learn to live in a living universe, I'm learning to live in the deep ecology of eternity. Of eternity. Whoa, what an extraordinary journey to be on. It isn't about accumulating things and accumulating power and prestige in a dead universe. It's about letting go of that, living simply, living with respect and regard for the universe in which, or the place where we live, the earth where we live, regard for the well-being of all life. And with that regard for the well-being of life, it's really regard for my own aliveness. And with that, the journey changes. We live more simply, we live more compassionately, we live with an appreciation for where we come alive. And some people come alive, say with dancing, others playing music, making love, growing a garden, living in nature. So whatever brings you alive, as Joseph Campbell was saying, we want the direct experience of being alive. Now, that shifts the domination culture into a relational culture of finding aliveness, respecting aliveness, cultivating aliveness, and growing the aliveness within ourselves. And that is essentially, in a nutshell, what changed me from seeing myself as just a human body to that of a human being as a part of a living universe and a living earth, and shifting then into the concern for the well-being of all life, which was not, well, which was really an affirmation of myself, my own journey, and celebration of that. Celebration of that. So that, Michael,
Yeah,
is it.
awesome. Aw- And I want to thank you. And I just took so many notes, and I don't even know where to start because the overwhelming, not overwhelming, but the deep truth within what you had shared with us really comes down perhaps to a single point, and that is living in harmony with nature. And nature is designed to preserve energy. There is nothing more that nature doesn't need more energy than preserving and growing itself. There is no, I'm not sure whether that makes sense right now, but there is no additional energy needed if we are in balance and in harmony with nature and with the universe itself, because then we're going to be flowing in the current of what is, whether that is
Right.
mentally, whether that is physically, whether that is spiritually and or emotionally. So some people say it's coming back to 12 o'clock and really being in that flow. The other thing that I wanted to perhaps talk into is you were talking about evidence, and to me, you are the evidence sitting right there of a living universe that has come into harmony with through your studies and through your work. And there's something that what I really also got from you is um, I once had a professor at the Polytech University in Hong Kong who studied consciousness, Gino Yu, you might know him. He said to me, Michael, if you study something in a really, really deep and sacred way, and you continue to study it, the reality of that which you study merges with your reality.
Yes.
And I am fascinated by people who have that perseverance and the stamina and the endurance to actually then come out on the other side like you did, and with your experiment and recognizing that it's not about dominance, that it is about partnership, that it is about harmony, that it is about allowing rather than pushing. And so wow, what a beautiful and the fun that you must have had going through this whole process, and the frustration potentially
Yes.
within it, because the outcome, you wanted to push for the outcome, and yet
Yes.
you started to realize that it's not me pushing, it is about me allowing. And
Right.
I believe that this is where we really need to come into partnership systems where we become aware of our interconnectedness, and that which indigenous cultures and teachings have told us for thousands of years.
Thousands
And
of years.
and yet we don't really recognize that wisdom as traditional science, specifically not in the Western world. And so there's civilizations that have been living in harmony with nature for 10,000 of or thousands of years, and yet we seem to kind of ignore that wisdom as not really being scientifically provable, and which comes back to our intention and or our intuition, and but also that knowledge being carried forward from generation to generation to generation into this day and age. And so my call is also to start listening to indigenous cultures and indigenous wisdom. And I had a pivotal moment where I was in a sweat lodge with oh yeah, give me the name, with I forgot who, Chief Wolf, um and he said to me, Michael, the word for grandmother earth in my Lakota language is Unchimaka. And he said, if I would take the literal translation of Unchimaka and translate it into English, it would mean the part of me that I'm walking on. And that was for the first time that I really truly understood the depth of the wisdom of indigenous peoples, that they're actually not, it's not a belief system, is they
Right.
understand it. there's also this quote: to believe and to understand are not diverse things, but the same things in different periods of growth. And so through your experiment and your search for the ultimate reality, you are understanding it. It's not, for you, it's not a belief system. You embody it, you understand
Yes.
it. And so it's
Yes.
the same with indigenous culture. But we're actually here to interview you, not hear my but not hear my life experience. I'm curious to learn, how can we then deepen our understanding of perhaps a more harmonious journey in connection with partnership systems, and which is really deeply connected also to a more sustainable future in terms of ecology and the
Right.
environment, and what do you think is needed? Because we have all the wisdom, all the information, everything is at our fingertips, yet something seems to prevent us from actually following it and living it and embodying it. What do you think needs to happen?
Well, it's the simplicity of what I just spoke about. We have way more information, way more understanding. We have artificial intelligence. We can speak about that. Way more mental knowledge than is required. And what's required, really, I feel, is experiential knowledge, the knowledge that Joseph Campbell spoke about. He said, what brings you alive? What brings you alive? You want the direct experience of being alive. Why? Because you're learning to live in a living universe. Okay, what is that? And every person has a unique gift that I feel they bring into the world, true gifts. We have near gifts. We sell real estate. We sell one thing or another, but we each come with a true gift, I feel. And that true gift is what needs to be cultivated. Um, it might be music, it might be food, it might be serving people in one way or another, being a doctor, whatever, but a gift that when we give it, we know it's real, it's authentic, it's bringing us alive as we give it back and out to the world. So the first place I feel to start is with our true gifts. What is that capacity that we have within ourselves that when we extend it out into the world comes back to us and we feel awakened, we feel alive in giving that. So instead of looking around and what should I do? What should I do? Look within yourself and say, what brings me alive? Knowing that when I feel alive, my aliveness can connect with the aliveness of a living universe. And just like you saw in this experiment, when life connects with life, things happen, big things begin to happen. When someone feels their aliveness connect with the aliveness of the universe, with the web of life around us here on Earth, big things can emerge from ourselves. I trust that, first of all. And it's not words, it is the direct experience of being alive and bring that aliveness into the world. So that is crucial because it's not something to do just for the world out there. We're doing it for ourselves. And in doing it for ourselves, we mature as a species on this earth. We're growing up as a human family, and we're moving out of our adolescence and in our adolescence we tend to think of ourselves in a more smaller way. We think, well, it's just about us and this body that I've got and so on. And as we mature, as we grow up, acquire a more spacious connection with life. We say, whoa, there's more going on here. There's more love, there's more light, there's music in how we relate to it all. And there's a dance that we can bring in our own lives into the rest of life, unless we're shut down by a dominating culture. And a culture can shut us down. You can say, no, you are the job that you have. You are the title that you have. We have a borrowed identity. We say, well, I'm my job, or I'm the house in which I live, the car in which I drive, and so on. I borrow my identity. Give up the borrowed identity. Live more simply. Live in the identity of a humble being in the context of a living universe. And that aliveness, come alive and know that you're way bigger than the house, the car, the job, and so on. Keep doing those, for sure. But don't be contracted into that smaller sense of identity. So that, Michael, would be my first suggestion.
Thank you. And what was really interesting is to experience you in your aliveness, yet knowing that the overarching theme right now on the planet is a culture of dominance. And
Yes.
Yet you can live within it without submitting or without being in submission to it. And I
That's
believe
right.
that if we can all express our gifts to its fullest potential, and then also perhaps recognize one another for the gifts that they bring into our cultures, into our societies, into our families, into our communities, then I think we're going to start shifting from this dominance culture and expressing it in partnership culture right on the ground, and
Yes.
shift humanity into a different era. I
Yes.
would say.
So
So
let's talk about that for just a moment.
yeah.
Where are we? Are we just going to keep going along in this domineering kind of materialistic culture? No, I don't think so, because it's running out of resources and material to sustain it. And here's the image I have of where we are as a species. For the last, at least 50 years, imagine you're on a roller coaster. Um, Many people have ridden a roller coaster. They have a sense of what I'm about to say. For the last 50 years, we've been on the upside of that roller coaster. We're just going up, up, up. Whoa, look at the view. It's so beautiful. Look at it. We're so big. We're so wonderful. We're going up. Yes, up, up. We've had an up culture. We're just going up. Well, we were getting to the top of that ride, not only to the top of the ride where it's beginning to slow down and stop, and that's in real time in terms of the resources of the earth and our ability to consume those resources. We're at the top of the ride. We're looking out. Oh, wow, isn't it great? And all of a sudden, we're beginning to look a little bit further, and we're saying, whoa, look at that drop that is ahead. And we're just beginning to go over that curve right now as a species. And we're seeing that we're over-consuming the earth. We're domineering one another to a point of exploitation that's unsustainable. We're fighting with ourselves. We're going over the top of the growth, and we're looking at the descent down. And as we drop down, we're going to be dropping away the materialistic, consumeristic, separating mindset of the past and saying, whoa, what are we going to do here? It's all falling apart. We better pull together. Because if we don't pull together, we're going to have a ruinous collapse. And we're on our way towards that right now. Either a ruinous collapse or extraordinary authoritarianism, confinement to stop the collapse. No, we can't hit ground full speed. It'll just tear us apart. So two paths look very real right now. One is keep the business as usual going, which is exploitation and domination. That's a ruinous collapse future, or a future of extreme confinement, authoritarianism, restriction that keeps us from hitting that rock bottom. Now, there's a third future, and that's here as well right now. And that's a future of a great leap forward in our where we're going as a species. And that requires us to let go of the past. It really does. It requires us to let go of the historic identity that we're just a physical body here and reclaim the original wisdom that we're a physical body here, but that body lives within a larger life, and we need to respect that larger life and know our relationship with that larger life. And in that process, we find our brothers and our sisters, we find our relationship with the web of life, and we begin to care for it. So if it's dead, exploit it. You bet. Dominate it, exploit it if it's dead. But if it's a living universe, care for it. Care for other people, care for oneself, care for the whole thing. And in that care, we come alive as well. So we are at a cusp, a turning point in human history, where one of those three pathways ahead is going to dominate in the next 50 years or so. We're either going to have just an utterly ruinous collapse of the ecology of the earth, or a domineering culture of authoritarianism that just clamps down. And that's very much alive here in the United States and other societies. Or we're going to say, no, we're going to let go of that, claim our original aliveness, and move with a great leap forward in learning how to live together in a new world. And I live in a co-housing community. We have 65 people here living in a small footprint on the earth. We share 3 meals a week. We do work together as a community and so on. We can come together in new kinds of community. And those small communities can have a small footprint on the earth. They can be sustainable. They can then serve the well-being of the rest of life that surrounds us, and on and on. In other words, if we are willing to let go of the past, we can reconfigure ourselves on the earth in ways that are not only sustainable, but they are flourishing. You can flourish in the aliveness that you feel in working together in the garden, in sustaining the community in different ways, sharing music together, and so on. So that's where we are. And my sense is that we, as a species, are going over that roller coaster. We're looking over the edge now, and we're on the verge of making a great drop. And with that drop, we got to be ready to make choices. And those are the 3 choices that are before us right now. And only one of those choices is focused on aliveness. The other 2 say, well, it's all dead matter, empty space, we have to dominate. No, it's all alive, and we have to care for it. We have to co-create with it, and so on. So that's where we are. And science, by the way, is beginning to see, it's just beginning to see that the universe is a regenerative system. It isn't just static and rigid. It is intensely regenerative. And in that regenerative nature, it's alive. So that we are at a cusp of not only seeing ourselves, but also from a scientific perspective, like I just showed you. That's science there. That chart that I showed you, that's science. That's hard science that says, whoa, we can relate to this as living beings in a living universe, and that changes the scientific expression of that. So I think that's where we are now. Those are the choices that we're being called to look at, to make. And that's where then I've been a citizen voice activist for decades now, 45 years really. And my feeling is we can't do this alone. We have to come together in conversation, locally, nationally, globally. We have to come together in conversation. And people say, well, how can we do that? How can we do that? If you have one of these in the United States, 95% of the people in the US have one of these and can talk to one another right away. Artificial intelligence says, well, we can give you this instantaneous translation in a dozen languages. Well, soon it'll be 100 languages. Okay, well, 2/3 of the people on this planet have a cell phone, have a mobile phone. 2/3 right now. By the end of this century, it will be 3/4 of the people on this planet. And if we want to talk to ourselves, we can. We have the tools right now. We hold the future in our hands. It isn't out there somewhere. It's right here. It's in our pockets, in our hands. We hold it. And we hold the capacity to communicate together, talk together, choose together. And we no longer have the barriers of geography, the barriers of language, and so on to separate us. It's now a unified world, and we need to choose to use that unity, not only in spirit, but also in reality, in the physical reality of a cell phone, a mobile phone, to come together. So I think if we are pushed, we might do that. And there's no guarantee, but my sense is within 15 years, by the 2040s, we're going to hit the evolutionary wall hard. And we either by that time are choosing a leap forward as a species into a more flourishing future, or we're going to crash into ruin. As we ruin just the ecology of the earth, the climate change, species extinction, and all the rest, or we're going to be just clamped down into authoritarianism that's going to be extremely hard to undo. So this is it. This is it. After 100,000 years or more, this is it. We're at the choice point in human history to choose how we're going to live, and who are we? What is the nature of reality? What's our sense of identity? What's the journey that we're on? That's the choice point now.
No. And within that choice point, I also, from my understanding, those who came before us have seen it. Heaven on earth, golden age, nirvana, shambhala, whatever name they put towards that state of being. And I believe we're going to get there. And so when you talk about the roller coaster and we're at the top and we're starting to really go down right now, I have a feeling that this roller coaster is going to have two different tracks, and we're going to take the track that is going to bring us back into living when in partnership system and into harmony with one another and the planet. And what I see in the field that I'm in, specifically now around Peace Day and the environment, there's the movement in the background, this underlying energy is so profoundly beautiful, and people are coming together and coming together stronger in radical collaboration and cooperation, because we all know we are the ones we've been waiting for, and it's really up to us, and it starts with our homes and our communities. And so how can real change happens with real people in real time in real places. And so how can we inspire each other to partake in this? And I would love to reach out to you independently of this podcast, because I don't think it's going to take another 15 years. I believe we're going to experience that state that we're all looking for within the next 12 to 18 months. And I would love to have your opinion on a project that I'm bringing forward, your scientific and your wisdom, your scientific wisdom and but also your life experience. And what an honor, what a beautiful, I feel your dedication to life itself. And within that is the dedication to a higher consciousness, or I sometimes refer to it as divine consciousness, or divine being, or God, or whatever name we might find to that. And I see that within you, and it's always extraordinary to have conversations and to start to seeing people who are connected to exactly that. And I believe that this is what we need to start seeing in each other, because that's where the true potential and it is hanging out. And so deeply honored. And go ahead.
Yes. part of the revolution going on right now is in artificial intelligence, AI. It is so powerful. We, in the next 5 years, are going to be overwhelmed by artificial intelligence unless we are ready for the wave that is coming. And unless we see it, we will be dominated. If we see a small sense of ourselves as beings that are bodily beings that have a thinking mind, and that's our identity, we're in big trouble because artificial intelligence can outthink us. Can be so smart it can outthink us, and we then feel we have to surrender to it. And so I use artificial intelligence a lot in the work that I do, and I'm seeing both its power and its limitations. I want to speak to the limitations. Artificial intelligence is machine intelligence, machine intelligence. It isn't alive. It's not alive. It doesn't pretend to be alive. It can mimic that. It can simulate aliveness, but it is not alive. Artificial intelligence does not have a sense of itself as a pure awareness. It may have a reflective consciousness. It can see what it's doing in a machine manner, but intuitively it does not have a sense of interior awareness. And that means it cannot have a sense of affection, of love. It can't taste a bite of chocolate. It can't smell a flower. It it doesn't have a sense of compassion for the well-being of life. It can mimic that, simulate that, but it doesn't have the direct experience of that. And so what we're doing here, if the journey we're on is to learn to live in a living universe, all those qualities of aliveness that we now have need to be preserved and encouraged and nourished. It's important that we not surrender who we are to the machine intelligence, which is extraordinarily powerful, of artificial intelligence. And so we need to step up in our maturity as a species, claim the qualities of being that we have, which are qualities of aliveness, and bring those forth at the same time that the qualities of machine intelligence are coming forth, and balance out the progression as we move into the future. So this is a real challenge that we're facing right now, and it is exploding so quickly onto the world that there's a danger that we would surrender our deeper sense of aliveness to the machine intelligence and its simulation of aliveness. So that's one danger I want to just put out right now.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think it's probably besides the ecological devastation right now on the planet, it's probably the biggest threat to humanity. I also heard somebody saying that the mechanical aspect of AI might replace 95% of the jobs on the planet. And what
Right.
that person was then talking about, what are people going to do? It's not just about
Yes.
losing their job and not having money, but what are they going to be doing with their
Yes.
time? And so
Right.
if that time comes, I'm hoping that everybody is going to step into their gifts and dance all day, or create art all day, or garden all day, or cook all day, or
Yes.
serve all day. And there is within that is still that spark of hope
Right.
that I have for us to figure out that we need to all come together individually and collectively to make that radical decision around AI before the trains or the train potentially already left the station. But we need to come together and make
Yeah.
those decisions collectively as one humanity, and not allow a few people around the planet to dictate that direction to us, which is
Yes.
also a
If
culture of.
if we were to imagine an Earth with not only 1,000 or 1,000,000 or 10 million eco-villages or co-housing communities with 100 or so people. And each one of those, you could say, well, we do have artificial intelligence that's really smart and so on, but healthcare requires a human face to it to connect with people that are actually suffering, that have problems. And certainly artificial intelligence can assist in the healthcare, but it can't replace the human touch, the human presence in healing. The same goes for education. AI can be a powerful source of transforming education, but at a very local level with young children, with other people with different capacities, we need the human element in education. Um, every aspect of our lives that we look at, from healthcare and education and all of the others that really, art, music, dance that you mentioned, um, we could be freed up from burdensome, laborious jobs that we don't like. So many people don't like the work that they have to do to earn a living. What if we could be more efficient and finding sustainable ways of living, not living to excess, but living simply and sustainably within smaller communities where we come together with all of these capacities that we want time to explore, develop, and so on. Then that could be liberating for humanity and celebrating for us, as well as we then move into these areas where we come alive. We find our true gifts and start giving those true gifts because we're freed up from burdening labor and work that we really don't like, we really don't want to do, but we're doing it just as a job. Now the job can be to learn to live in a living universe.
And talking about true gifts, what a true gift you are to the world and to humanity. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Duane. We're going to come to an end. Is there any last words that you would want to share with our audience?
That would be it. To just trust and discover your own true gifts that bring you alive and bring those into the aliveness of the living universe. And together, we can begin to move into that new world, make that leap forward into new ways of living on this earth.
Beautiful. So thank you, Duane,
Thank you.
and what a great honor and privilege it was for me and for our audience to hear your wisdom and to get a glimpse perhaps of your path and within your dedication towards the greater good of
Thank you.
humanity. And I wish you all the best on your
Thank you, Mike.
continued journey and to make this a better place, and
Great.
many blessings to you.
Many blessings to you, to all.
And I just wanted to thank everybody for tuning into this episode of One by One and this special series Connecting the Dots with Riane Eisler and Duane Elgin. And until next time, be kind to one another and take care of each other.
Yes, you're here.